Good morning, dear professors and colleagues. My presentation today is entitled Obstacles to Open Access Research. My working agenda is open access, what and why. What are the obstacles towards open access? How to overcome these obstacles? And some suggested strategies from my personal perspective as a medical educator and associate editor as well. As we have discussed previously, that open access is the scholarly articles to be freely online, free from any barriers, technical, legal, or financial barriers for everyone all over the world. There are multiple models of open access, maybe gold, green, and hybrid open access. What is the importance of open access in the scholarly publishing process? Open access increase the visibility of the research, increase accessibility, more global impact, more citations, and according to the Wiley, the publisher, open access has 3.2 folds more downloads, 1.5 more citations, and 2.7 folds more altimetric attention. Are in the paradigm shift from commercially based economy towards attention-based economy. What are the obstacles towards open access research? From my own personal perspective and as an educator and as an associate editor, the most important obstacle and the largest obstacle is the unawareness, lack of familiarity and misconceptions of the authors. This is the largest obstacle, and it is the main obstacle or the foundational obstacle. The following ones are based on it. The second one is the fear from the predatory publishing. Fear from some authors think that open access are designed only for money and they are predatory publishing journals. The most important trick here is the definition of the predatory journals according to the Beale's list. He defined predatory journals as predatory open access journal. He dripped the concept of open access in the definition of the predatory journals. Additionally, some open access journals make some misconduct or malperformance, and the authors overgeneralized these features to all open access journals. Additionally, we fear from pseudoscience. As a dermatologist, I could claim that pseudoscience is largely emergent, receive hundreds or millions of funds, and it's published by reputable publishers. Pseudoscience is the science that is not based on clear scientific evidence, for example, homeopathy, aromatherapy, and so on. How to overcome this fear from the predatory publisher? To increase awareness of the authors about where to search the indexed open access journals. Open access journals, to be trusted, reputable, should be indexed on the directory open access journal. Some open access platforms collect the trusted and reputable open access journals as SPARC, the Scholarly Publishing and Academic Resources Coalition, Engenta Open, Rode, and the Inago Open Access Journal Finders. This is just for examples. The third one, and the most also parallel hand in hand together with the unfamiliarity with the authors, is the cost. The APC, or the article processing charge, together with the unfamiliarity, it is a burden for both publisher and for authors. To introduce a fair and sustainable APC model is a challenge. Additionally, open access journals apply the principle of FAIR. FAIR stands for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. There are some suggestions to also add the JUST principle. JUST principle stands for jargon-friendly or justice, universal, sharing, and transparent, to empower the authors from the low and the middle income countries to make some waivers, to make some discount. I think that Wiley publisher make 50% discount for people from the low and the middle income countries. Additionally, we need institutional support or institutional fund. Some concerns about the quality. Some open access journals, especially the local journals, and this is according to my own personal experience, suffer from poor peer reviewer process or poor quality of the peer reviewers, vague or hesitated editorial policy. Additionally, some publication bias also present in some local journals. The authors has some misconceptions about the quality equals impact factor. Some open access journals are not indexed on Clarivate analytics. Accordingly, they have no impact factor. But this doesn't mean that this journal is of low quality. The reputable open access should be indexed on directory open access journal, whether it has an impact factor or not. But still, the concept of the impact factor stands in the top 5 factors that influence the publication process. Some authors think that if I pay, I could publish whatever the quality of my manuscript. And this is another misconception. Thomson Scientific reported in 2004 that there was at least one open access journal ranked at the top or near the top of the journals in its field across all disciplines. And the poor quality or the quality of the journal is the responsibility of the editorial board, the publisher, the authors, and the peer reviewers, and it is not related to its access policy. There are some concerns also about the copyright. Some authors think if I pay, it is the copyright of the journal, and I have any copyrights to disseminate my article. The most important and the most efficient license that is applied by the open access journals is the Creative Commons license. Creative Commons license, BOI, that allow dissemination of the research for non-commercial uses, SA to sharing alike, mainly for non-commercial, but for educational purposes only. The last one is the resistance to change. Resistance to change is applied by the editors. Some editors fear from losing their jobs, losing their authority, and maybe to lose their revenue when they shift to be open access. And this is a rigid or fixed mindset, maybe. Okay. Some suggested solutions, according to my personal perspectives as an educator and as associate editor in an international open access journal, the most important solution is increase authors' awareness. Increase author awareness to break the cycle of the misconcept and misunderstanding. This is the mission of educators, the editors, peer reviewers, and the expert researchers as well. Also, it is the job of the publisher. The solution number 1 is also related to solution number 4, the role of universities for repositories and capacity building. As we have discussed yesterday, the capacity building is very important to increase awareness and to change the misconceptions of the authors. Number 2, support the development of non-profit journals, institutional journals maybe, and calling for hybrid journals. Hybrid journals, the article is transferred to be open access after a short embargo period. To recap, the most important obstacle in the open access publishing is lack of awareness of the authors, fear from predatory publisher, the cost, concerns about the quality and the copyrights or the license, and finally, resistance to change by the stakeholders maybe, or by the editors. Finally, all of these are challenge, but when we focus to challenge, we should focus on change. We need to change our mindset, not to change our performance or our attitude, but also to change our mindset toward open access, toward open science to be available for all students, for all people all over the world. Thank you too much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm representing a working group from Inter-Academy Partnership. And I feel this session a little bit like a fashion police for open science. Since yesterday, we were discussing the great opportunities from open science, but today I'm sharing some lesson learned from a study we did about the challenges of predatory academic journals and conferences for open science. So this work has been done by a wonderful team with many people from the world, and you can recognize here some faces. Habab is somewhere here. I don't know if it's working. You can recognize some great faces from the Egyptian Academy of Scientific Research and Technology. Some people came from United States of America, some from West Africa, some from Arabic region. So it was a great experience through this project regarding combating predatory academic journal and conferences. So what is the Inter-Academy Partnership? It's a network of over 140 national and regional merit-based academies of science, engineering, and medicine, with some strategical priority based on capacity building, providing advices, and communicating the importance of science, engineering, and medicine for all the stakeholders. Now, what do we mean by predatory journals and conferences? Those journals act by soliciting articles from researchers through some practices which exploit the pressure on researchers to publish and present their work. We are all aware that now the researcher needs to publish a lot if they want to get promotion or tenure. So this aspect of publish or perish open the way for those predatory journals. So some of their behavior, and it's not limited to what I'm putting there, you know, they promise rapid pay to publish. You will receive some mails and they say, okay, you will get your paper published in 5 days. And you all know that is quite impossible. And they don't do any rigorous peer review. They have fake editorial or conference boards, falsely listing respected scientists. And sometimes they even put some links to do the trap. And if you click on the link, you know it's not working. It's never working. They have fraudulent impact factor or metrics. I remember this journal created 2 months ago, and they were claiming to have an impact factor equal to 6 something with only 2 months. Is quite impossible. And another thing, you know, today, when they are aware that awareness is creating, now they put impact factor 6 something bracket manually calculated, because themselves, they know it's not true. And they try to take advantage of what they are saying. So the title of those journals are deceptively similar to legitimate ones. I think Elsevier journals are suffering a lot from those predatory journals, and now we are seeing also some similitude with the Biomed International journals. They have aggressive spam invitation to solicit articles. Dear estimated professor, even they don't you, even if you are not yet a doctor, they call you professor with a good title to say, okay, just send us your recent publication, your recent manuscript for publication. So those fraudulent practices are arising, and it's becoming more and more difficult to distinguish from low quality, unethical, and questionable publishing and conferencing practices. Okay, good. So our study touches all the world. You can see from this map, we were everywhere in North America, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Asia Pacific, and North Africa. And we had a total of 1,872 participants coming from 112 countries. And we noticed that over 80% perceive that predatory practices are a serious problem on the rise in their country of work. So the problem is real, and you know the scientists are aware of it. And we notice also that at least 24% of respondents have either published in a predatory journal or participate in a predatory conference, or they don't even know if they have or not. And when we look at the response, you know, some of the respondents say that they were not aware at the time they were submitting papers to those conferences, because the conference looked very legitimate for them. And they got the support from the university, and several well-known professors were in the invitation. And this is how it works. You know, we have this scam in my country, we call it ICC. Those people, they collect money like a Ponzi system, and they pay a visit to the president of Benin. When people see them with the president, then they say, oh, it's serious. So everyone run to put money in that scam. It's the same thing, you know. They try to go with well-known professors at your university, and you will say, oh, if this professor is great with them, then it's serious, and you go for it. That's why we need to know, even if we are full professors, we are great professors, we need to know how the characteristic of those predatory conferences or journals. Another option is that they say they need it to advance their career. So they know it's a predatory journal, but they need paper to advance their career because they want to stay in the race. Before publishing one rank A paper in a good journal, it takes some time because you need good results. And when you submit the paper, it can take 6 months, it can take 1 year, it depends on the journal, before getting the paper publishing. And in your country, when the rate is not based on quality, but only on quantity, people who have maybe 5 or 6 publications by this time, they are rank A instead of you. So the researchers say, no, sometimes we need to choose. We want to stay in the race. So we have many other reasons. They see it as a faster, easier or cheaper option, and they were encouraged by their peers. So we look at the impact of publishing in those kind of predatory journal on the career of the researcher. And some say, wherever my CV went, people would highlight and question my predatory publication. So it has become a real obvious black dot in my career. So they know it has impact. It's also a kind of waste of time, waste of money, and waste of opportunity for those who publish in this kind of not reputable journals, and their reputation gets tarnished, and people start judging them for many years. So the study revealed that the people who publish in predatory journals, they are affected for a long term. So if left unchallenged, the majority of respondents believe that predatory practices will have great impact, great effect on many ways. The first way is to fuel misinformation in public policy. It's important. And second way is to infiltrate and undermine the research enterprise, because there will be no limit, there will be no guideline, everything will collapse. And finally, widen the research gap between high income and low income countries. That's why, you know, in Benin, for example, when you go for international competition, we are really disadvantaged because our or tenure system is based on quantity, not really quality of publication. So when it's come to the international level, it's become a real problem because you are not judged in the same standard, and the predatory journals affect really those kind of countries. So now, what can we do? One kind of activity will be to start with some helpful tools and guides and create awareness regarding those tools. Many of them are free, like author aids, predatory publishing, COPE, those one can help to avoid predatory journals. But we have some also which are you need to pay for. These cabels, for example, you need to pay for, but it's really interesting to have those tools and guides popularized in order to create awareness among scientists and researchers. After our study, we suggest a spectrum of predatory behavior from the fraudulent with high risk to the quality one with low risk. So when you look at the fraudulent, we have the rapid and unrealistic service, the poor or no peer review, the plagiarism of reputable outlets, and also the lie about the credential example impact factor. These are organized in fraudulent with very high risk in our spectrum. And when you look at the low quality, you have promised service which are poor or lacking. You have invitation which are full of mistake. You can, I'm sure everyone here receive daily those kind of mail in the email, and breach good practices. And when you come to the quality one, you have the strong peer review, the strong editorial and advisory board, and also they are clear about cost and they take proper action when challenged. So this spectrum helps us to know more about how the behavior move on a way. So now the driver or host causes, we try to categorize them in three types. The first one is the monetization and commercialization of research output with the author pay model. This gives more power to those kind of predatory journals to evolve because they take advantage of this aspect. We have also the fact that the research evaluation system where quantity appears to be more important than quality. Because if all the system were about quality, no one will talk about predatory journal. They will disappear themselves. But since we have some system where the institutional drivers and incentive are based on quantity instead of quality, then the problem is there. And finally, the lack of transparency in the peer review process is exacerbated by poor training, capacity, and recognition of peer reviewers. So now we have something to do. We have all a role to play to raise awareness of predatory practices, the repercussion of not addressing them, and their threats to both science and society. We need to avoid engaging with and legitimizing predatory journals and conferences. We need to promote open science and reduce the commercialization and monetization of academia. And we need to strengthen our institution of transparent peer review and also reject the overuse and reliance of quantitative metric. This report is translated in many languages and available in this website, interacademy.org. You can have a look. It's in French, in English, in Chinese, and in Arabic. All the languages are available. And we developed also a sheet for UNESCO Open Science Toolkit. And this document is designed to support the implementation of the recommendation on open science. And this related on the study on predatory academic journal and conferences, and is available in many languages as well. So to wrap up, what are the predatory journals? There are some journals that deceive or mislead researchers. They are motivated only by profits, and they exist worldwide. Why are they a problem? They are a problem because they compromise millions of researchers, so it's a waste of billions of dollars, a lot of money. They dupe new and even well-established scientists. And how can we combat them? We can combat them by raising awareness, by working collaboratively to stop them and communicating their threat to science and society. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here today. It's a great honor. I'm driving all the way from Sokhna to Cairo to see you all. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance yesterday to attend. So in a brief presentation for our case study in Azar University, we tried to understand the nature of our academic staff theme and what they are searching for, especially according to the open access publications. Especially we are a very junior and startup university. This is our third year. We don't have any graduated batch till this moment. So we are starting to enhance the whole process from the very beginning. So we will speak in a very hurry in the introduction, what is the hypothesis that we put and the methods to collecting our data, what is the finding, and the last part. And this is my the most important maybe part is the suggestions. How can we enhance, what we can do more to enhance everything, and what is the conclusion, what may come in the new studies after that. So here is in our case study at Azar University, the most important thing, we studied the whole criteria that we evaluating the academic staff using it. We have 7 domains to evaluate the whole performance for the academic staff during the year. One of the 7 domains is the research domain, which is the most important domain here in our study. And we studied and analyzed this domain in a very detailed analysis. Because we need to figure out, is any of the KPIs attached to these domains put or encourage our academic staff to, or highlighting the open access publications, or we don't have this till this moment. Also, we used in data collection, we used interviews, questionnaires, and observation. And at the end, we suggested some enhancement for the whole plan or the whole evaluation, especially the research domain. So the hypothesis here, we started to question and analysis. Is any of the academic evaluation domains enhancing or supporting the open access publications, or we need to put a mandatory KPI to encourage the whole academic community in our university to put more in this field. And the other one, from the perspective of our academic staff, is any of the of the research KPIs may in the current situation are doing or putting in this field or not. So we used the methods, and Ms. MENA will speak about it.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, we have three methods in our case study. First one, interview. Actually, the select criteria for the academics for this interview depend on the last round and the highest number of publication for this academics and the questionnaire. We applied for the pool of study and observation. We searched in Scopus and Web of Science to see the publication for academic staff at Galala University from 2020 until now.
Okay, here is like a brief and fast presentation for the 7 domains that we are basically evaluating our academic staff in this field. So we have actually we have 2 evaluation criteria according to the weight of the each domain. Let me like clarify this area more. We have 2 criteria. One criteria for the teaching staff only, that they are not holding any managerial positions. And we have another one for the academic staff teaching also, but holding managerial positions, for example, like program directors, deans, and head of, like, for example, the Digital Transformation Center or all of that. So we will see a change in the weight. It is the 7 domains for everyone, but we have a change of domains here. If we look to the teaching and supervision, we will see it a 40%, research 25%. This is for the teaching staff only. They are not holding managerial positions. And the core expectations, 10%. We have also continuing the SPD, the continuing professional development. We have community service, each one of them at 10%. And the administration, 5%. If you can see here, the leadership, it's a 0%, because from the university perspective or the unit of quality in our university, they excluded or they put a weight of 0 for this one. We can here see a changes happens in the teaching domain, and supervision, research domain, and the administration domain, and at the end, the leadership domain. All these changes, it's contribute to the managerial position. So we have here the very high weight for the leadership one. It reached like 45% for the managerial positions, and the research. If we can look here to the research part, it's overcome the teaching and supervision, because I believe at this moment, when you become like a dean or a program director, you are attached more to contribute to the research community. So after that, the research domain, which is the most important one, that we did the whole wide study and analysis for it. We have 5 KPIs attached to this one. We have the research achievements, and we have the fund generation, and we have conference proceeding, international collaboration, and the last one is books. Each one of these KPIs have a rating performance thing, or criteria, starting from 1 to 5, according to each perfect to the maybe to the one, maybe, for example, let's take the international collaboration. If you are doing like 3 international collaboration per year, it will take some different rate than if you didn't reach any international collaboration. So here we will start with our findings. Here is the Galala University at Scopus. We have till this moment, we started at 2020 at August. This is our starting point in Galala University. We have 329 documents, 22 author, and the ratio or the open access publications from the whole thing is about 56.2%, which is a very great indicator right now, or this is contributing to the awareness of our academic staff and the importance of the open access publications. But we questioned here, is this high ratio contributing to the awareness of the academic staff, or that high ratio, it may came because the support or the very tight requirements of the university? And we will, from the next analysis, we will see the whole thing and everything will be clarified. And here is the Web of Science. Till this moment, Galala University, we don't have any appearance there, and we are working on that to be noticed in Web of Science. So here is the whole analysis. We started to ask them from a very bottom questions to understand or to see if the academic staff aware about the evaluation criteria and the difference between the teaching positions evaluation and the managerial position evaluations. We have here like 94.7% that they are aware about these differences. And the second part of the analysis, we started to ask them about the importance of 7 domains from their own perspectives, because we need to know what they are thinking of, what we can do more for them. And the very cheerful thing for me, and we have the research part, the second highest one of the domains, and we get like the second one, and the first one was the teaching and supervision, because this is their primary thing to do in our university. And here also we asked them to, if we can suggest to add in the next round of our academic year a mandatory requirement to obligate each of them to add or to publish in an open access research as a mandatory requirement. We have, unfortunately, it wasn't like 100% agreement. If we can see here, we have 26.3% of hesitant people that they are not 100%ly or they said no, and we have like 26.3 they are not sure to add that or not, but we have 47% of them say agreed to add this as a mandatory thing. And the second one, we have we asked them about the number of publication for each one of them in open access journals, and you can see the number and everything here. Analyzing this thing, I believe that the most one or the biggest sector here, we have for more than 5 or more than 5 publications in the open access. And the last one here was about the especially about the Egyptian government collaborations and efforts. Really, I really appreciate what the Egyptian government do according to the research sector here. We had the collaboration of Springer and the Egyptian Knowledge Bank supporting the researchers to put their research free of charge in an open access journal, Springer. So the shocking part for me, they are aware of this initiative, but unfortunately like 57% did not contribute in it. Some of them contributed, but not all of them. We will see after that what is the obstacles it may hold them to contribute in this. Also here we have, we asked them about the research domain. Do they, from all their own perspective, see that the research domain KPI is encouraging them to put in the open access journals? And we have like a 68.4% of them agreed that we may enhance, but we will reach a higher ratio for that to be 100% satisfied about that. And we will see the suggestions of their replies after that. We asked them after that in a specific way from the 5 domains of their research, which one of the domains we can add, we can enhance, we can change to put more to the open access publications, or to encourage them put more publications in the open access. We have the highest number goes to the research achievements according to the quality of the journals and what criteria should put by the university to regulate the whole thing. And the second one goes for the fund generation. They asked to allocate some budget for supporting the whole publication process or the open access process, because as you can see, the obstacles here, the EPC, the article process costing was extremely high in some at some point for many of them. Some of the doctors mentioned that in a very prestigious journals, they may put 300 or 3,000 US dollar or euro. And if you can compare it to the Egyptian currency, this is a very high number, and they need some support in that. Some of them mentioned that sometimes the obstacles is the publishing process. It may take a very long time, or if you can compare that to a closed journal like IEEE or any of the fast processing journals in the publication process. And the reviewers, some of the academic staff have concerns of the reviewers' experience, and that was 11%. The benefits, on the other hand, here is the obstacles, but on the other hand, the benefits for the authors, we have a benefits also for the publications, and what is the future expectations from all their own perspectives about the open access movement. Here is the very important thing here, the high impact. All of them, 100% of them agreed that the benefits of the publishing in the open access journal, it gives you the very high and the very instant impact, and the visibility, the accessibility, and the review times. It may came very fast in the prestigious journals, and the H-index, the international collaboration was the very highlighting thing here, according to the authors. At the future, some of them were the most of them, 72.2% sees that the open access movement will rule actually in the next 10 years, will rule the whole thing. Some of them have the concern about the quality about each journals, and we have to be very careful about what and where we are submitting our things to be an open access. At the end, we suggest and them together like a very encouraging things to do in our university. The most important part, and like 100% of them speak about it, the establishing a research center, and it will facilitate the whole thing for our university. And we need to add an open access new criteria to be very regulated and to put more to the benefit of our researchers and selecting what is the prestigious and highest impact journals to publish in it. We need also to allocate a certain specific fund to support our researchers to put more in the open access publications. Also, we have also a recommendation for more collaborations with the Egyptian government movement and the research centers, that we can do more collaboration with them to minimize the expenditures and the fees that they can maybe put in this thing. And after the whole search and analysis, we figured that we need a second look for the 7 domains weight, especially for the teaching positions and the managerial positions, because in some points we need to exclude the 0 weight to be added more. For example, maybe we can have a teaching staff holding a teaching positions, but we have a leadership skills, or they can contribute more to the benefit to of our university. So we can do another study for the whole 7 domains to see, is it 100% suitable weights, and if it really contribute well to the benefit of our university, and at the same time to the researchers or the academic staff themselves. We also like open the door for the next upcoming studies for Al Galala University. As I said before, we have to study again the impact of the 7 domains. We have also study the research KPIs and the impact of the applied research, especially in our university in the artificial intelligence part. This is a very important one. We have a very high calibers really in this part, and we need to see their projects on the ground and what they can do or contribute more to our community and to our geographical place. So finally, if please, if anyone of you need to ask me any question, it will be my pleasure. Thank you
so much, Dr.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I just want to know how you actually identify when you receive a call from those journals. How do you actually identify which is which? For people who don't know the issue in hand, maybe you're an expert on those predatory journals, but how can a person and a researcher know whether or not these are the ones whom they are not supposed to work with? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan, Dr. Rania, and Dr. Victorien. Both of you can answer the question. Yeah.
Okay, I can start. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. Those predatory journals are very difficult now to get recognized. But from my experience, you know, when I receive a message or a mail from those journals, the first reflex is to take the name of the journal. I look at the website. When you look at the website, first of all, you have the design of the website, which is too flashy. In many cases, it's not easy to replicate something. So when you have the fake and you have the real one, it's too flashy when you go to the website. And you can see if you are very well concentrated, you can see that some big mistakes are on those websites because they want to do it so much to look credible, to look real. And secondly, I look at the addresses. The addresses are Gmail, Yahoo, or Hotmail. For this kind of journal, it's not possible. They need institutional accounts. And after that, I take the name and I put it in Thomson Reuters. It will never appear there. If you put the name in Thomson Reuters, they have this Clarivate Analytics link I can share with you. And you put the name of this journal inside, you will never find it. And another activity I used to do is to go and see in this Jeffrey Bills list if the editor or the journal is listed there. If I found them in this list, I cancel the journal. Those are some tricks I use to get aware of those kind of journals.
Thank you, Dr. Victorien. Rania,
yes, I would like to add something also. The mails that is coming from the predatory journals usually has an unofficial or informal language. For example, dear Dr. X, greetings of the day, something like that. Additionally, they write the name of the author in an informal way. They didn't use the last name. May use the first name. There are a lot of spelling mistakes in the name. And the mail has some lights, highlight, some colors, red colors, yellow colors. Additionally, they write one of my publications into the mail. They wrote, we have read your publication in a journal X, and we need you to submit your publication also to be published 2 weeks later or 5 days later. All of these practices are doubtful and questionable, and we should ask ourselves why they do that. Additionally, the names of the predatory journals are usually close to the name to the reputable journals. For example, Journal of Dermatological Diseases, they drop the S and they write Journal of Dermatologic Disease. They drop S and L. So when we overlook these letters, we could be confused. Additionally, as Dr. Victorien reported, I search on the Beals list, Thomson Reuters or Clarivate Analytics now, or Scopus, the platform of Scopus, to search if this journal is indexed or not, present or the directory of open access journal or not.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Kamal Belhamel, managing the directory of open access journal. I want to share with you our experience how to combat those predatory journals. And in Douage, we have also a group working on predatory journal, but we have a list of predatory journal and the publisher, predatory publisher. So this list is offline. We cannot share with as public. So in Douage, we have some rule, some indication that can detect exactly if the journal is predatory or not. So my question is for Dr. Victorien. You know that Bell list is offline since 3 years or more, I think, not update because Bell list Bell is stop update this list. So how is possible to because some journal that has been listed, especially from Africa, from Asia, for not misconducting, because they have no information, no knowledge in scholarly publication. So they have done work very not good work. So they have been listed in this list without they are not predatory, but they have been listed in this list. So I want to know if in your organization you have established a list of predatory journal, and do you have a list also for predatory publisher? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And we'll give this to Dr. Victorien to answer. You'll be next.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's true. This is not working no more, but it's always a kind of tip combined to other tips we are discussing about now. It's not only one strategy to get aware of those predatory journals. So using Jeffrey list, combining with other tricks we were discussing. And in our report, we make the clarification between the low quality editorial process and predatory practices, because it's true, some of the journals listed by Jeffrey were not predatory at all, but it's just a lack of quality. They don't know how to do it. They are not doing it for profit. They are not doing it necessarily because they want to harm. They do it because they don't know. So we make this clarification. That's why our spectrum, we try to draw our spectrum, but we give some indication to go through this spectrum. We didn't target this journal because every day you have 1,000 journals created. Every day, when I look at internet each morning, there are a lot. It's like a business people, when they wake up, they say, okay, let's create this journal to collect money. And they just do it. So it's not possible to have a fixed list. The only things we can do is to create awareness among our colleagues to recognize and get rid of those predatory journals. And this is what we go through during the first question, how to recognize those predatory practices. It's really important. And it's not only one strategy. You need to combine many strategies to know, to be sure that, okay, I'm not going with this journal, even if you have the pressure. Because I will end by giving one experience from my country. You know, sometimes when you are strict with your PhD students, I remember one of them come to me and say, oh, Prof, you are too strict with us. Why should we publish one paper per year when our colleagues, they are publishing 6 or 7 in the same year? Why are you doing that? And when we want to get a promotion for assistant professor at the university, they will say they have maybe 7 times 3, because PhD is 3 years in Benin. And we have only 3 papers. We will never get this position. You see, when you hear the student behaving like that, what can you do? That's the point. So you need to go to the top and try to change the rules from the top. The way they get promotion, you need to change it first. so that it can impact down. If not, we are talking about predatory journal, but people will say, okay, I know it's bad, but let me do it because I need to get a position after my PhD. And we need to avoid that. That's what I can say.
I need to add something, yes. Sure. I totally agree with you, Dr. Kamal, in relation to the bills list. Nowadays, some editors contradict the bills list and they provided an evidence that he's a little bit exaggerating or highly strict. They provided an evidence by a reputable journal, bills listed it as predatory, provided that it is already listed on the PubMed. This is the matter, but I totally agree with Dr. Victorien that it is a multifactorial process. When I doubt or when I need to think multiple times to ask expert researchers, to ask multiple editors in the surroundings to confirm that this journal is predatory or not, and actually not depend on the bills list only, because some editors say or claim that bills list is exaggerating or highly restricted too much. Yes.
Okay, this is a comment rather than a question. I just want to share Dubai Health Authority experience regarding the predatory journals. First, I would like to thank you for highlighting this important topic. Actually, as you know, the medical field and rich countries are the most, let us say, targeted by predatory journals. In our library, the medical library, we start an initiative 3 years ago. And in that initiative, we approach and we ask the authors, usually physicians, to reach the library and get guidance in person. Thank God for this year, 2022, we were able to avoid more than 40 papers to be sent to predatory journals. I just shared on Twitter, on the forum, a link. This link actually is available not only for Dubai Health Authority staff, but for anyone to use. And we usually answer confidential about that link, because in the library, we now have experience to figure out if this journal is predatory or not. So feel free to share it with any one there and can use it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And we will take. You need the mic?
No? Okay. So again, also a comment, and just to reiterate the importance of following lists like the Directive of Open Access Journals and not lists like Beals or whoever. There's a risk of using some of these, let's say, blacklisted journals listed or lists. One, there's no transparency about it. We don't know, as our colleague mentioned, why a journal is in there or why it's considered predatory. The other thing is that Beal hasn't been active for several years, so the list, of course, isn't updated. Now, so it's very important to follow certain criteria as the Directive of Open Access Journals. And in, for example, just a case of the Qatar National Library, when we get a request for funding for an open access journal and it's not listed in the Directive of Open Access Journals, we still do certain criteria checks similar to how it would be included in the DOAJ. So we look at, there's something called the DOAJ transparency principles or statements. So looking at the license, whether there's a clear editorial board, whether there's clear pricing. So yes, looking at the website is a good indicator, but some journals are out there are really good in masking whether they're like a genuine publisher or not. So there are other criteria that we need to look at, from the use of Creative Commons licenses, transparency about pricing, editorial board. And, you know, whenever everything still looks fine, as I said, check the address on Google Maps and you'll find it's maybe in like a small warehouse somewhere. So you can, yeah, so that is very complicated. It's a very serious issue, but I think that there's importance in following curated, verified list as opposed to just going to somebody's list online. Thank you.
I would be very interested in your feedback. So Science Open, we're a discovery platform, we're built on a citation network. So often a paper comes into the platform from PubMed, and we look up all of the citations. And so if an article in a predatory journal is cited, we will still add that into our database. And I do it really with a bit of anxiety. So I really don't want to give these kinds of predatory publishers any sort of space in our within our network. But if a researcher has accidentally published their work in such a journal and now it's been cited and other people are using it, then it seems that this would be really detrimental to the author, who maybe this person is taking advantage of these predatory practices. Maybe this person is basically didn't understand what they were doing. So I would be interested in, would you, if you were in my shoes, would you link to those articles in predatory journals that have been cited, or would you exclude those from the database?
I guess that you add. From my point of view, I will exclude. I will exclude because, you know, it's starting with some event grant funding agency. When I take the example of Agnes, this African-German network for excellence in science, something like that, when they launch a call, they put it in the call and they say, if you submit your files and you submit only one publication in a predatory journal, even if you know it or you don't know it, then they discard your files. They don't look at it. Even if you have the best mark, they don't look at it. I think it's behaving like that, that we can end up with the process, because publishing in predatory journal is a lake of funds. You know, me, I did it. I published in a predatory journal, but because in Benin, what can you do if you don't publish in predatory journal? But when you start getting in contact with international level, then you realize it's a problem. And you lost all you did in those journals. It should be so strict. So even if people they get citing these papers, it's better to discard it. If not, it will be like the snake which is eating the tail. It will be like that for years and years. So one time we need to be strict and just cut the problem at the basis. Thank you.
Yes, I would like to share also my experience as a peer reviewer and as an editor. Some authors already cite predatory journals, and when I peer review the article, I found that the authors could be victimized by this journal and already cite at least 3 citations per paper from the predatory journals. I think that this is the job of the peer reviewer and the editorial board to revise the reference list and to confirm and to be confident about these references. We should contradict citations from predatory journals, and the reputable publishers and as Wiley, Elsevier, and so on, each one of them has a software or maybe AI system to search and to confirm that this journal is predatory or not. And the manuscript is returned back to the author, asking him or her to please revise reference number 5, please revise reference number 6, and so on. Predatory journals should or must not be cited at all.
You know, after hearing the discussion, I think there is a serious problem that we need to attend to. Publishers, if they know about those journals, they need at least on their websites to highlight or say something to those poor researchers who don't know anything about it. And I have to say this because you just mentioned that you yourself did fall in the trap and you published in a predatory journal. So how can we actually, zoom in to kill those people by actually announcing, if you know any of those journals, why don't you just announce it on your website? And I don't know if there is any legal liabilities if you do something like that and you tell people that, oh, don't publish in this journal or that. But I think, as publishers and as editors, people need to think about the system to stop this foolish stuff and stop researchers from being victimized. Because, if I publish and then somebody cites my work, and then you come and tell me that you're penalized because you published and it was definitely a good paper because other people kind of cited it. So don't leave this to the researchers to fight. It will not work. You need to be kind of more strict as people who are actually handling the issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan. Would you like to elaborate, Professor Rania or Dr. or both of you first? You can also elaborate.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's true. It's sometimes painful when it's come to the poor researcher to pay for it. And as I said, in my the beginning of my career, I published in those kind of journals because my supervisor didn't know the difference. So I was a poor PhD student. So you need to do what this guy needs because he wants to get a full professor. That's how I get in the trap. But when I realized the error, because I went from Twas Young affiliateship, there I realized that there is a big gap between scientists from Benin and scientists from the world. So we need to fill quickly this gap. And filling this gap is to address those kind of predatory journal and conferences in Africa. That's how in my university, for example, when you go to our website, you have a list of journals that we say do not publish there. We take precaution. We don't say it's predatory journal, but we say we don't advise you to publish in those kind of journals. And when we recruit a new lecturer, each year we have 2 sessions on predatory practices. We train them. Each year, the University of Abomey-Calavi allow 2 sessions to train all the researchers on this topic. So it creates awareness. More and more people, they know it. They know it's a big problem if I publish in a predatory journals. At least now they will not say, oh, 5 years later, I didn't know when I was doing it. Now they know, at least in our country. So if they do it, then it's because they want to do it for any region they want, but at least they know. It's not like you come to the judge and say, oh, I didn't know this law. Even if you don't know the law, they punish you if you did wrong. So that's what I can comment on what Dr. said.
I think, Dr. Hassan, that announcement about the predatory journals on in our fields or in the social media, maybe, it requires some sort of standardization or code of ethics, maybe formulated by committee of publication ethics, to avoid malpractices or maluse of this behavior by the authors or by the early career researchers. Maybe some researchers not confident about this journal, but write on his website or in his Facebook account, don't try this journal. This is a predatory, provided that this journal may be indexed already, but this researcher has no experience. So to announce something like that in the scientific community requires some standardization and some ethical guidelines as well.
Thank you, Professor Rania. I guess there is another doctor.
Thank you so much. When we observe the geographic area where the most predatory journals get published, we can see that it's all from third world countries or developing countries. Do you think this is because of lack of policies by the government or the pressure by the young researchers to get published more papers, as you said, or getting a job or getting promotion? What's your comments on that?
Sorry, I want to share with you a small comment about predatory journal. Just in Algeria, the Ministry of Higher Education, they launched official list of a predatory journal and the predatory publisher. You can download this list, and I can share with you this list. And this list is given to a PhD student, because in Algeria we before you defend your thesis, you have to publish at least one article with impact factor or with indexed in copies, or and then before you publish your article, you have to check this list or those predatory publisher if your art. So when you give your thesis and your article to the administration, the first thing they check your article and then see if your article is listed in this list or not. So of course, but the problem with this list, we don't know exactly from where. I know that every year they have to update this list of publisher and predatory journals, to help student, PhD student that avoid to publish in those journals. So you can find this big list on the website of the high education Algerian website. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And we need to answer the doctor question. So Dr. Victorien, so do you remember his question? Yeah. Okay, if you need any. No, it's okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would say it's both lack of policy, because if each university or each grant funding agency, they set up their list and say, okay, it's not a matter of you are a predatory or not, but we think your practices are predatory. Then if you publish in those journals, it's up to you. It's not our problem. We will not consider it. It will start by there. If each body has a list to say, we don't recognize papers in those kind of journals. So it's a work that should be done by the library in the university and supported by the vice chancellor. We need that necessary if we want to solve the problem. Secondly, the publish or perish aspect on PhD students is a big trap for them if they are not well supervised. That's why, if we professors, we don't play our role so much, because our role is not only to be there and say, okay, we are professor, and we are not able to advise the young scholar people give to us to train. We need to get aware of those predatory practices, to discuss with them and let them know. It's not only to say, okay, professor, see this journal. Is it a predatory journal? No, it's not that the point. The point is to help them to recognize directly those kind of journal. So having some journal clubs and say, okay, this is how you need to recognize the predatory journals, because each of us, we have some teams. And when we are doing it once, 2 times, 3 times, then they are experts in that field also. And they can know directly and popularize the information with their peers, which who are not in contact directly with us. So the both aspects are to take into consideration. Thank you.
Victorien, thanks for that. And
it's actually not a question. I just wanted to share the Cambridge experience. On our website, we talk about predatory publishing, and we say if it is not, look out for it, and if it is not approved by DOAJ or COPE, or then don't come to us. So publishers also have a responsibility.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. A very interesting presentation. I know it's quite a difficult task to define faculty evaluation criteria in the most fair way. I have 2 very quick questions. The first question is, what is the sample size in your analysis? Because on Scopus, you mentioned there are 22 authors. So is it like the number of participants in these results are 22, or it's a higher number? The second question or comment is, one of the biggest obstacle generally in any university or institute to publish in open access is the cost. Because as you mentioned, some journals, they charge quite an exorbitant money. So it depends on how much support faculty members they have from the university. Then they decide whether they will go for open access or not to go for open access. And the biggest advantage what faculty get is a visibility of their paper, high number of citations, etc. One thing which I didn't see in your criteria or anywhere in terms of encouragement for faculty to go for open access is the citations. So do you consider citations or FWCI for the faculty to encourage to go to open access or not? Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you for these very important questions. About the first one, about the size of or the sample of our study. Let me clarify this. At the beginning, we decided to put or take the 100% sample of our last round for the academic staff incentives, the highest impact academic staff. They deserve to be honored by the university to take the incentives for their huge and extreme contributions for our university and under name of Al-Galala University. So we have like a 32 academic staff, because as I mentioned before, we are a very junior and starting up university. So the whole pool was 32 of our academic staff. And we have, if you can see on Scopus, we have 22 only 22 indexed or visible authors or researchers in Scopus. So the pool was really not that big, because we are still starting. And about the second one, the second question, I'm really sorry, can you remember me?
About the citation.
Yes, about the citation. So we are, yes, unfortunately, we didn't have the time here to tell you more about the KPIs of the research domain. Yes, sure, 100%. We are considering the queues or of the publications, Q1 to Q2, Q3 or 4 or whatever. We are considering also the H index for each researcher and each academic staff. We also the impact factor and the citation for each paper, we are considering all of that. If we go more in depth in this criteria, we have every single thing mentioned or there, we are putting the whole thing in a rubric, and it is disseminating for for all of the academic researchers in our university, and they are all aware about this criteria, about this rubric. So yes, we are considering that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hajar, and we'll open the door for one more question. So who's the lucky one? And then the coffee break. So any more questions? So there is no question, then one more question. So you're the lucky person then.
Stephanie Dawson, just very briefly, have you considered the San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment, San Francisco DORA, that says you will not use impact factors as a criteria for research evaluation, just because there's a lot of problems with the impact factor, and most universities are really trying to move away from that as a criterion. Have you given that some thought?
Okay, thank you so much for this one. I forget to mention, unfortunately, at the very beginning introduction, we have 6 versions of our evaluation criteria. So we are with the university quality unit. So we are all the time trying to, as you mentioned, to enhance and to see what is appropriate research and what is not helping or what is not reliable right now, like you mentioned, to evaluate our academic staff. So at version 6, we considered, yes, I have the last week meeting with the head of the quality unit in our university, and we were discussing this issue, and he mentioned, and he said that we can't really rely on that, because sometimes it can be misleading, or it's not giving the actual thing that researchers may deserve to do the whole performance of them. So they excluded really this one from version 6 in our university, and they considered not putting that, and we can rely on the citation and yeah, and the H index maybe for each author. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you so much.